Good afternoon, welcome. Call this meeting to order and join us and stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yes. Big crowd for such a nice day. Okay, I guess we got a pretty full agenda today, so we're going to try to move it right along. First thing is the minutes from June the 14th, 2016.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second. Motion is second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Payroll, July 25th, August 8th, and August 22nd, 2016.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And the claims, July 14th, July 21st, July 28th, August 4th, August 11th, and August 18th, 2016.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Approval of longevity. Any discussion? Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, I'm going to deviate a little bit here from the printed agenda. I've had conversation with many of the fire chiefs and 911. 5 years ago, this county hired a new 911 director. He has subsequently left, and we have another new 911 director. And in the short period of time that CJ's been here, I think he's done a good job, but we've had some things that fall through the cracks. And through that process, we went back and looked at what we did when we hired John Johannes, who CJ took his place, and we discovered that we had an advisory body in place at the time that helped CJ with 911 and helped the departments, fire and police, with what they needed to do. And we got away from that, and we're going to go back to it. The chiefs are all in agreement that this is going to be a good thing, so they have talked with CJ. The first meeting of that advisory body will be on Wednesday, September the 14th. So it's going to be here in the classroom at this building. So, and I think Chief Pfeiffer, you wanted to address us too on that issue, or?
Well, I'm part of it. Can I?
Sure, certainly.
Well, as you guys know, whenever I come before you guys and talk, I'm talking radio. Well, as we talked about the advisory board, and we went back and was looking at the very first minutes from that meeting, we had accomplished everything but the money part of that, the things that were going to cost money to the county. And one of the biggest components of that was us moving on to 800 megahertz. As you guys know, as I've approached you before, we've been filing for grant after grant after grant after grant on moving that direction, trying not to burden the county with the cost of that. We were successful with 2 grants in 11 and 12 for a little over $500,000. Since then, we have filed for 5 more grants that we've been unsuccessful. In 2011, when we came to you guys, we were leading the area in moving towards 800, and today we are the last as moving towards 800. So what I have here today is we have a presentation from IPSC, which is the state counterpart that runs 800, and their distributor, which is Motorola. So if I could take a few minutes of your time to have IPSC and Motorola speak to you guys on what 800 can do for us and why we need to go that direction, I would appreciate it.
Sure thing. Go right ahead. And the reason we're doing this and kind of cutting the agenda up a little bit is because these guys are going to have to leave when their radios go off, so we want to get them in here when we can. So go ahead, Tom.
So, Jen?
Good afternoon, Commissioner.
Afternoon.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and take a second here to set up a presentation I have for you guys.
Should I bring John up?
Yes.
Where's John? John, can you introduce yourself at least to everybody while Jay is firing up the presentation?
Right, Mike.
I'm John Asher. I'm the Director of Field Services for the Integrated Public Safety Commission out of Indianapolis. Our task has been for the last 10 years to provide interoperability for the state police, fire, EMS, state, local, and federal. To this date, we have some 65,000 users on our system statewide, first responders. We've also started a new program to upgrade the current radio system to what Jay is going to talk to you today about, is the new P25 platform. A lot of counties are going that way with communications. The incentive for the local county is that once you lay out the initial purchase, the state will pick up the maintenance costs of all the radio sites, of the Motorola equipment that's in the buildings. The state will pick up those costs for the next 20 years. We have signed a $78 million contract for maintenance for the next 20 years. It includes upgrades to hardware and software. And so we're going to be providing the upgrades and the monthly maintenance to your radio equipment once the initial install is complete, if you do so to choose to do this. Jay is the account manager. Jay is from Motorola, and I'll turn it over to Jay.
Yes, that's fine. Thank you. So again, thank you for the introduction. My name is Jay Burrell. I'm the Northern Indiana account manager for Motorola. I work heavily in the counties up north, but I also assist on the statewide radio network. And as you'll see through the presentation, a lot of things that we're doing today is creating a system that's made for all public safety across Indiana. And that was the goal of P25 when it first came about, and the goal of 800. The government has slowly been advising and pushing everyone to move toward the 800 front. Frequencies are set aside, and that's kind of along the lines of what we're going to be discussing. So it's a quick presentation. If you guys have questions, please feel free to stop me, and we'll get through this. A lot of this started actually probably about a year ago when I took over this area. I met with Director Whitmer, Chief Pfeiffer, and Matt Melton, and we discussed, hey, this is where we need to go, this is what we need to do. What are the steps to get there? Some of the steps were already taken a few years back when CJ and John Ducantis had the 911 center upgraded with MCC 7500, the IP consoles. That was kind of step one on the migration toward 800. And I'm going to go ahead and go right into this. So really, you guys know more about where you are today than I do, but based on the conversations that we had, what's out there today by discussions with Minor Electronics as far as the current network. Currently, you're operating a 30-year-old VHF system. A lot of it's been pieced together, band-aided together to keep it running strong. And that's one thing, we'll credit Minor for doing, is keeping the system up and running and ready for the next wave. You have a few disparate systems mixed between the city departments, and you have a new fire simulcasting with a rate paging system for the fire departments, and that's currently what's being utilized today. As far as the state's concerned, or the Integrated Public Safety Commission, or IPSC, you have one 800 tower with 6 channels that are currently in it. So I put a little note at the bottom there as far as the county's responsibility. When you have a mix of systems, you're responsible for your T1 circuits, which CJ can talk about later about the annual cost of T1s in order to run these networks. You're responsible for all maintenance and all upgrade. What was good 30 years ago today is not the newest systems. It's not the IP-based switches, servers. That was all replacing all the circuits and the older technology that was out there. So today you have your MCC 7500, that's your dispatch center, and you have your radios that are integrated in with it. What is available and what becomes standard expectations? So kind of the wave of the future of public safety, it goes way beyond radio. Now it's integrated voice and data. You hear P25 interoperability. You'll hear FirstNet, which is public safety broadband that's going to be coming down the line that was mandated by the government, giving public safety officers, basically take your typical broadband cell phone, and in the event of emergency, you're not going to be able to get out. Well, in the future, there's going to be dedicated bandwidth that's just for public safety. So that's being integrated with the land mobile radio that we talk about, or LMR, and also with the cell carriers today. So as you can see, you went from radio and consoles to now you have radios with Bluetooth. So you have Bluetooth microphones, you have Bluetooth body cameras. You have a lot of different things you can do with Bluetooth. Sensors are being enabled into the systems. You have radios with GPS, outdoor location. So before, in the event of emergency, you try calling out on your radio, or you hit an emergency button, and that's your only notification of, hey, we're in trouble. So now with the newer technology, with the state having integrated voice and data, how great would it be that the moment that an officer or fire department, anybody hits their emergency button on the radio, it's alerting back at the 911 center. On top of it, they're showing a screen, this is exactly where they're at. So it's giving them that extra counterintelligence. Goes more into the newest adoptions, things that are going out there, analytics, network of networks. Really, what it's saying is it's no longer radio. There's a lot more that goes into these systems today than what's out there 30 years ago. Things have changed. So you see your technology advancements, pace of adoption. You guys see this in your daily life. Cell phones 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago was not a necessity. Wi-Fi throughout the entire house was not a necessity. Things changed. I was making kind of giving my dad an example. This was a couple days ago, just saying how a fridge, 20 years ago, it's one job, right? Keep your food cold, keep your frozen foods frozen. Nowadays, there's TVs on the fridges, you have your ice maker, you have water, you could do just about anything. Things change. What used to be convenience is no longer convenient. So again, we go back to what's public safety today. You have your fire departments, EMS, EMA, you have your police departments. They're all interacting with the 911 dispatch. I don't know if my laser pen's working very well, but you have your consoles in the back, and you have your LMR network. As things expand, you're using, I'm sure a lot of you might have, whether it's data cards or MDTs that are running CAD throughout the county. That's something that's changed over the past couple of years. You take it to the next step, and I mentioned the public safety LTE network. Now you're getting a lot more integrated voice and data, so you're doing a lot more with your technology than you can today. And what it gives you is actionable intelligence, and I'll talk a little bit more about that on the next slide. So, big screen, I'll kind of sum down some of the things that we're working on, some of the things that are becoming very popular. As we all know, we're working on different video, bringing in video feeds, whether it's live from a fire, whether it's live from, there's a scene at a school, something along those lines. Big thing when I talk about Bluetooth, so some of the things that the radios do now that they don't do before is I want to kind of run through one of those scenarios that I was talking about earlier. There's whether it's a deputy, whether it's a captain from the police force, it's out on a scene and all of a sudden they draw their weapon. How great would that be with the sensors that are being built into the systems today that CJ's 911 center is all of a sudden notified that a weapon was just drawn. Taking the next step further, you have body-worn cameras. As soon as that weapon's drawn or emergency button is activated, now all of a sudden a body-worn camera is going live and it's being recording. Taking the next step further with FirstNet, the public safety broadband, you're able to actually stream that video back to 911. So instead of before where it might have just been a Mayday call, now all of a sudden you have actionable intelligence. You know what the perpetrator looked like. You understand the scene of what was going on. And all of this can be utilized throughout public safety, whether it's fire, whether it's police, EMS. There's a lot of things going on with the medical fields where you can, through Bluetooth and through different technology, you can send, whether it's body vitals or back to the hospitals prior to even getting there. So no longer do you have to worry about calling over the radio. That could be something that's sent through these systems. That's where it's advancing today. So departments, obviously commissions as yourself under pressure, need to do more, drive more effective services, improve safety, reduce costs. So I showed you that back screen of all those possible things you can do, and then I say reduce costs. Seems pretty impossible to reduce costs with all the things that are out there today. Do more with less. I know Indiana, a few years back, went through and they decided to do the consolidation of PSAPs. That's where they said, hey, it no longer makes sense for everybody to have 5, 6, 7. As far as your counterparts next door in Lake, they had, I think, 18 dispatch centers when they decided to consolidate. It no longer made sense to to have all of these different disparate systems because it was too expensive to run with the technology out there. So when I was approached by these guys, I think the biggest question is, and John alluded to it earlier, is will your next investment last 20 years? Right? You're sitting on a 30-year-old investment for some of it. IPSC, with the Motorola contract, has dedicated 20 years of service for this piece of the puzzle. There is currently, like John said, there's over 64,000 users. That's expanding. One of the reasons it stopped at that is because there was limitations on the amount of users. With the new system they're going to, they're almost double, or actually going to more than double eventually, the amount of users. So you go from 64,000 to the capacity of up to 128,000 users on the system. Chief Pfeiffer alluded a little bit to grants for P25. It was easier to get P25 grants 3, 4, 5 years back. It's become harder and harder. So my question to them then was, what happens if it's non-P25? It's very tough for the government, whether it's Assistance to Firefighter grant, the Burn Justice Assistance grant, to pass out money when it's not tied to interoperability. And that's really what P25 was made for. So narrowbanding, that happened a few years back, and I think everybody experienced the pain points of narrowbanding. You basically had your signals cut in half. You had to add a lot more repeaters throughout the system just to get back to the status quo. There's been talks, and there always will be talks, whether or not they do it, and expand again to another narrowbanding. At that point, the systems, as you know today, will kind of be obsolete without a lot of additions. And then I want to mention double tax. And John, you could probably speak a little better to it, but as far as the IPSC funding, it's all coming from the taxpayers as far as license plate renewals and license renewals in general.
$1.25 from some EMV transactions.
Okay.
Brings us about $14 million.
So currently, you're paying for this system as it stands today, and that's one of the benefits of every county joining is it's already being paid for in some respects, and that's where the money's coming from. So a lot of things, we said it's too hard for everybody to do something individually. You see the world in general, everything's shifting to this as a service, X as a service. So you have shared services across the state of Indiana with the license renewals. This is the biggest points I think really hit home. They signed a 20-year contract with us. So the equipment, the upgrades, everything's paid for the next 20 years. Any systems you invest today, 3, 4, 5 years down the road, you'd have to update. Things have changed a lot with the servers and the different things that are working this equipment where no longer can you set it and forget it, and 20 years later, hey, it's time to replace. So all of those costs of any state add-ons are being paid for by IPSC, and that's contracted through us. The T1 costs, that's a burden I know CJ sees on a daily basis. Some of the T1 costs are $500 to $600 per month. So you start adding up how many times the T1 connection is connecting your radio network, and that's your responsibility today. IPSC takes care of that as part of the plan. So any of the network that is connected, that's all a monthly fee that they take care of. Maintenance costs are 20 years on any of the radio equipment that we install. So not the radios that you have on your hip or in your pocket, it's the radio equipment that actually activates the system and makes it work. We know very well that 20 years from now, what we install today is not going to continue working. So what we did is, through the maintenance and what we call a software upgrade agreement, we're making those changes progressively for the next 20 years. So the system they bought is not a 6-year-old system, an 8-year-old system, it's a 10-year-old system. Every 2 years with system releases, things are being upgraded. Some of it's just software, but as you get farther into it, there's hardware that's being replaced, and that's a cost that the county's not responsible for. So the way Porter County would look at it is the one-time investment. Some of the recent add-ons, LaPorte County, they were in a similar boat with a lot of the EMS, EMA, sheriff. They had a very old system. They were looking to upgrade. They decided it's a lot better of an idea to join the state. Jasper County recently added their own site, additional site. St. Joe County has expanded their system. They were a standalone system tied to the state network. And Mishawaka had their own radio system. Mishawaka decided to close down their system and join the state because they realized that the yearly cost they no longer wanted to pay for in maintaining the system. And then Steuben County was another recent one that decided to add their own system into the state integrated network. And a lot of this is changing because as we finish the upgrade, it's the time to act, it's the time to be able to utilize it. You know, if you're going to utilize the system for 20 years, it's better to be in year 1 than in year 12. So what does this mean for Porter County? A lot of words. Basically, the facts from what we've seen is there needs to be a change in the current systems as you see it today. There needs to be some sort of upgrade. So you can continue on your VHS path. So your initial investment on upgrading, that is all the transmitters, receivers, everything is your responsibility. Maintain, upgrade, oversee the operation. That's something that you have to worry about, whether it's network intrusions, whether it's security. There's a lot of things that are taken care of from the state side that if you decide to go and expand on your own, that's a responsibility you must take on. New equipment's far more advanced. I talked about this. Upgrades, whether it's software or hardware, needed every 5 years. Circuits replaced with switches, boards. The things that are running your system today are no longer manufactured. That was just kind of the technology as it goes today. We talked about narrow banding. We talked about T1 backhaul. Currently, you have the M1 core that purchased that's running the radio system. There's no upgrade agreement on that. So any future upgrades or any future enhancements that you're looking to do on the system, that still needs to be purchased. So when you join the state, what you'd be doing is you'd be abandoning your core that's currently running your system and joining onto the state's cores that they have. So you also reduce your burden. So a typical M1 core is about $150,000 a year. So if you look at it over the next 20 years, if you want to have a state-of-the-art core, you're going to be looking at about a $3 million investment just in that piece of equipment. That's what's running the centers today. At minimum, purchasing 3 new radio systems. And again, it's not brand new radio systems, but there's a lot of upgrades that go into it. And then obviously the other option, one-time investment to join the state. And part of what we looked at would be adding towers into the county. That way you can get better coverage throughout, and I can show you a little bit of what that looks like. And there's always a possibility for rental income on the towers, something I throw out there depending on how you guys do it. You probably have great coverage, whether it's Verizon, Sprint, or what have you, but there's always need for more data. The more time people are logging on to Facebook, YouTube, watching ESPN, watching CNN, watching the debates, that's taking up bandwidth. So the carriers are constantly adding more data and data sites, so there's always need for towers. A little bit about Motorola. I know you guys use Motorola quite a bit throughout the county. #1 global leader in public safety systems. Over 64,000 users on IPSC. Over 2 million of these P25 radios that we talked about have been shipped. We have over 350 of our P25 trunk system in 34 countries. And we have 7 alone just in Indiana. So some of the counties decided to go out on their own and maintain it, such as Lake County or Tippecanoe, Mishawaka at the time, but like I said, they're joining the state. It just kind of shows our presence in Indiana alone. This gives you a little bit look of the statewide. So Indiana's not the only one that's using Motorola for statewide radio communications. As you can see in the darker blue, that's going to be anything that is P25 or moving to P25. The light blue is more of the outskirts of the older systems that we're working on upgrading as we speak today. I'm going to be selfish here. Like I said, I'm the Northern Indiana account manager, so I wanted to focus on Northern Indiana. So I wanted to kind of give you a snapshot. Since 2014, right, a little after when IPSC decided to go ahead and upgrade their system, the amount of changes that have happened. So I put Porter in there. You guys obviously purchased your M1 core. You have the 7,500 councils which work on the state. You have standalone systems in Lake County, Allen County, and Tippecanoe County. You have system add-ons in LaPorte, St. Joe, Steuben, and Jasper. And then you have counties such as Pulaski, Fulton, Cass, and Miami looking to be backups of each other. So they have their MCC 7500s, which are just the dispatch councils tied to the core. In the event of emergency, they have to abandon their area. They can pop up their screen on one of the neighboring counties. It's a lot easier for some of the smaller counties to have backups next door than to build their own dark site. Wells, Adams, Jay, and Bluffton did the same thing, and then Delaware is also looking. So all in all, we've had 165 councils added to the core, and we've had 11 new tower sites. So that's just in the last 2 years. You can kind of see some of the action that's been. There's a lot of excitement around the P25 upgrade. The proposal that we were looking at, again, changing the trajectory of communications, interoperability, what would it look like in Porter County? What could we put together? Based on the studies we did, we realized it'd be 5 sites would be your system, and I'll talk a little bit more about the sites in a second. There'd be one prime site, which is kind of your controller for the entire thing. You would have 12 channels, Project 25, P25, 8 backup consolettes, that would be for the dispatch center, and then a control station combiner, and what we have put through input from the folks I've been working with is there's 1,444 radios. That's getting a countywide picture of what would it take, what would be necessary. And when I say 5 sites, this is another one of the bigger screens. So I went to the back screen, right, and I said, you know, maintenance costs, SUA costs, it's all being taken care of by the state. Another thing to think about is you're not just a 5-site system. So in everyday operation, let's say everything's running perfectly, right? You have your 5 sites, but you also have, right in the west, you have Lake County. They have their own TDMA system. Well, these radios would be capable of TDMA, so you can interoperate with Lake County, which today, after they switched, I'm guessing is a little bit of a hassle, anytime you guys have any large incidents. On top of that, the state alone has 4 sites in Lake County: Cedar Lake, Lowell, Gary, Hammond. So now you take your 5 sites and you have an extra 4 that you're getting a little bit of coverage. You have 9. I said LaPorte had added on, so Michigan City's getting a tower site. There was already one in Summit, Wanata. So now your 5 sites goes to 9, goes to 12 sites. You have Madairyville and in northern Rensselaer, they've recently added a site too. Now you're looking at full picture. It goes from 5 sites to 9 sites to 12, 14 sites. So that's what you're paying for the initial purchase for one set of it, and everything else has already been there. So to your point, you're a little behind, but at the same time, you're coming in at a good timing because everybody else paid for everything else, which is helpful in that fact. This right here is the statewide upgrade network, so all the little white circles, that shows a current RF site or a current radio site throughout the state. I want to say there's about 160 now.
About 158.
Yeah, 158 and growing. So whether it's, I don't know how you guys do your sheriff transports, but if you're taking somebody down to Indianapolis or you're taking somebody, now you have direct communication as you bounce from county to county to city to city. So it's giving you the interop. Whether it's LaPorte, Lake County, anytime you're doing joint efforts. I know EMA does a lot of practice events. What happens if this happens? You have your EOC vehicles. Well, right now you probably have 50 different radios going in there because it depends on what corner of what county you're hitting. It makes it a lot easier when it's one system.
Jay, I don't want to interrupt you, but we do have a very full agenda
Yes.
today. I think I'm going to ask you the burning question.
Perfect.
How much?
So based on the system that we put out there today, and I have some pamphlets to pass out, full-blown cost with everything is a little under $9.8 million. $9,794,516.
Okay.
Now that's everything all combined.
That's not maintenance, though, because it's another $1,650,000 for maintenance, correct?
Correct. That's for the 7,500 councils. And to be honest, that's something that's almost I don't want to say mandatory, but something that's necessary in the future for no matter what you do. And I actually did do some printouts of what this whole thing looks like, so I can pass it out. Is that all right if I pass it?
That's fine.
Okay.
That's fine. I think, obviously, we're going to have to take this under advisement, and
Can I add just a few things, though?
Go ahead.
At the rate, if this was a perfect world and you guys could do something today, we're looking at 18 months down the road to get this done. A year from now, we will no longer we will not have communications with Lake or LaPorte County. They have both gone to the 800, and we will not be able to interop with them. So this is something that, time is going to push us into a corner. The other thing is when I came to you guys in 2010 and 2011 when we got those grants, it was because of narrowbanding. The next round of narrowbanding is going to be in 18. So if we want to beat that round of narrowbanding, we need to figure this out. I have no idea, and I'm sure CJ can throw numbers at you on what it's actually going to cost us to meet the next narrowbanding. I think you guys have an idea what it cost for the fire radio to meet the last narrow banding. Was it 600?
Fire simulcast is just a shade under the 6 figures,
So,
or 7 figures, rather.
so I know that 9,800,000 is a huge number. I think it's something we have to get to.
Well, I also think, from the county's perspective, we're contractually obligated for the infrastructure that we have right now till 2018. So we're looking at it from our perspective as that sort of a sunset time for us. I think the other thing that and that's the bogey that we need to work back from, which is getting close to that 18 months, maybe more like 24. But in the same breath, $5 million of the $9 million cost is in radios. And I think that from our perspective, what part of the discussions as we go on forward is that, what is the county going to be responsible for, and maybe what are the other municipalities and maybe some of the other areas are going to have to maybe step up and help us out or something on the radio side. I don't know what that is, but we need to have the dialogue. We need to have it.
And I will say this, on the fire side, we've done our fair share.
Yep.
And we've gotten $1.5 million in grants already, which took care of 7 fire departments. We've applied for roughly, and I'm kind of pulling this a little bit because I wasn't part of those grants, but, we just did a transit grant for $1 million, which we got denied. And South County just did for a radio grant, which I believe was very close, similar to the grant that I had asked for, which was about $800,000. So, we're trying our best to not be a burden. But at some point, if you go with the system and there's no radios, then we didn't do anything. Or if we buy all the radios and we don't go with the system, then we didn't do anything. And when I go back and look at the very first advisory board meeting that we talked about and getting dispatch to be the most efficient it can, 800 was on that list. And, we're 6 years later and we haven't really talked much about it.
My one question to the Motorola gentleman, if this were to be enacted, does this put us on a single band? Does this put us on one?
You'd be on 7/800 frequency, which, as far as the radio is concerned, is a single frequency, but there's multiple frequencies built into the 12 channels. So you're reutilizing the system based on, as you're keying up, you might be on a different channel each time, but the user itself doesn't realize it. They're on their same talk group that they're going to be utilizing. And one thing I'll add, too, is there is power of numbers, and it shows in there. The actual list price on the equipment is about $15.5 million. Just for being part of the quantity purchase agreement with the state of Indiana, that dropped a couple $1 million. Power of numbers, we did a bulk incentive, and then we put some other basically discounts in there to bring it down to that $9 million mark. So
Still a lot of money.
Yes.
And that's where I think we're trying to look at our contracts, we're trying to look at how we're managing our multiple frequencies that we do today, which I think could eventually down the road make it a little bit easier to operate the 911 than we are today. So there's a lot of moving parts in here. And I don't think that there's any disagreement that we need to move in that direction. It's just about when and how are we going to pay for it. And I think that's like everything that comes in front of us up here, that's what it all gets down to at the end of the day.
Well, I think one of the things that, every time I come before you guys and talk, I try to get it to, I want you never to have to worry about radios for the next 20 years, number one. And then, number two, I think what we need is permission from you guys to keep moving in a direction to get this done. So far, we've just been a group of people working on our own, and I think somewhere along the lines, there needs to be something that says, yes, the county's moving this direction. I don't know what that looks like right now.
Well, I think formalizing this board that John brought up and re-engaging that and getting that going again, I think we are hoping that some things will bubble up from that sooner rather than later. So I think that's what we're looking to the group to help us do. I think that's the purpose of it.
Well, the downside of that board is there's no financial tick in it. There needs to be something on the financial side that can start budgeting those things.
Yeah, you have the head of the commissioners and the head of the council that sit on that committee, so there you go. That's why it's set up.
That'll require removing the word advisory.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you for your presentation. I know all the fire guys got things to do, so if you want to be excused, that's fine. Thank you. I'm going to take one more liberty at this time. Under the correspondence, we had a request for the approval of a Northwest Indiana Cancer Kids Foundation proclamation for 2016, and I understand that the lady that wanted that done has an appointment as well. So you want to come forward? And as you're doing that, I'll read the proclamation. Whereas in the past year, more than 13 Northwest Indiana children have been diagnosed with cancer, and in the past year, 2 more children have lost their lives to cancer. And whereas childhood cancer is the #1 disease-related killer of kids in the United States, 1 in 5 children are terminal at diagnosis. 3 in 5 suffer life-altering impacts of treatment that significantly alters their quality of life. 1 in 285 children will be diagnosed with cancer before the age of 20. Whereas childhood cancer is on the rise, childhood cancers and adult cancers are different, yet we continue to use downsized adult cancer protocols on kids with many times devastating effects. The lack of childhood cancer research has tremendous impact on kids and significant cost to society now and in the future. And whereas despite these facts, childhood cancer research is vastly and consistently underfunded, less than 4% of the National Cancer Institute's budget is solely dedicated to childhood cancer research. In 25 years, the FDA has initially approved only 2 drugs for any childhood cancer, and half of all chemotherapies used for children's cancers are over 25 years old. And whereas incidences of childhood cancer is on the rise, with an estimated 15,700 children diagnosed every year, 43 per day in the United States alone. Of those 43 children per day, 8 will die, and whereas the incidence of cancer among adolescents and young adults is increasing at a greater rate than any other age group, except those over 65 years of age, and an estimated 2,900 children die each year of cancer in the United States alone. The average age of death of a child with cancer is 8, causing a child to lose 69 years of expected life. Whereas many adult cancers are diagnosed early, in the 80% of kids, cancers are already spread to other areas of the body by the time the diagnosis, and whereas the cause of most childhood cancers are unknown and at the present, childhood cancer cannot be prevented. The families who have been treated work tirelessly to change these alarming statistics. And I'll ask for a motion to approve the proclamation. Motion and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Did you want to say anything?
Yeah, I do. Well, they're not easy statistics to hear for us who have traveled the childhood cancer journey. Mrs. Schultz is here, and her son Rusty fits into pretty much every one of those statistics. But we continue to fight in his memory and in his honor. That 2 children that you read on there as of August 9th became 3. And there are 2 young boys in Porter County currently in hospice. And there is another young boy who has a cancer that has a 0% survival rate. So he will probably in the next year be in hospice as well. But it is the #1 disease killer of our children, and so you need to tell somebody and be aware, because we do get less than 4% of the NCI at the annual budget, but our numbers are going up. They're not getting better. So the Nick Foundation supports local families whose kids are in treatment, and we also support efforts for research. We cover 6 counties now, and so for the first time this year, we are having an inaugural awareness event in Porter County, and we have the information here that I would like to leave and like everybody to pick up. This is a wonderful day for families to come together. A lot of people have worked very hard. It's our Labor of Love event, and this is on Labor Day Sunday at Sunset Hill County Park. And our goal, of course, is to have simultaneous events in all 6 counties that we support and provide assistance to for these families during the journey. So welcome aboard to our Labor of Love event. So we need your support. We need all of your support to get the word out and let people know that the numbers are rising, and that we need to tell somebody, and we need to make it an important cancer fund and a future of our country and your state and your county. So we appreciate your help and thank you for pulling us up on the, I was a little nervous, so I told a lot of people I wasn't sure what time we were going to get going, but they have other children, from
Certainly.
school. But thank you again, and next year we're going to invite your mayors and your council presidents and all your teams to join and proclaim in their individual community. We've done that 2 years in a row now in Lake County, and then the state creates their proclamation then as well.
Great.
So thank you.
Thank you very much, and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Okay, now we can get back to the agenda. A resolution by the Commissioners of Porter County, Indiana regarding the approval of issuance of the Porter County Municipal Airport Authority Airport Revenue Refunding and Improvement Bond Series 2016, first reading. Chuck.
Thank you. Chuck Lukeman, I represent the Porter County Municipal Airport Authority, and I want to make it crystal clear, we are not here asking for any money,
I was wondering.
not a dollar.
Okay. You got my attention.
In 2008, and by the way, this came to me by virtue of information that was passed on by a bond counsel from Barnes and Thornburg to Commissioner Evans, who was told that with the bond issue that you approved in 2008 that was issued by the Airport Authority, a refunding might save as much as $225,000 net over the remaining 12 years. Well, as the Airport Authority studied this more, it is believed that an extension of that original bond, keeping the same debt payment, yet acquiring new improvements that would provide more revenue to the airport, such as more T-hangers, is one of the projects that are listed there. With the same debt service, the airport could refund and acquire maybe $1.5 to $1.8 million of new money with these, again, unprecedented low municipal rates we're seeing, just like folks getting a mortgage. So that is why we're here. I submitted a slightly revised resolution yesterday in a red line copy. It basically says we may do a series. We may have to do 2 bond issues that would stretch into 2017. Issuance costs would not be increased at all, and these bonds are payable solely, and that's in Section 1, solely from revenues of the airport system. And under the law, the authority has to get your approval to proceed with this. And that's what we're asking for today. I think all of the projects, I asked Kyle when he made his list to exceed the amount of money we know will be available. He did that, and then you would be leaving it to the airport authority to prioritize projects and do what they can, maximize the amount of money. But again, not payable by you, not payable by anyone. It's just it's an extension of what was done in 2008 and trying to take advantage of what we have out there now.
Questions? It's 1 hour okey dokey to go get some money, and it's
Yeah, all you need is
what a deal.
one reading of the resolution, and
Okay, so we have to do this as a, no, it's not an ordinance, it's just
not
a
an ordinance, just
resolution.
resolution.
Yeah. Have you got a copy?
I do.
Why don't you read it for us, Scott?
Whereas the Porter County Municipal Airport Authority has heretofore established, constructed, equipped, installed, and financed airport aviation and related facilities, the airport system, in Porter County, Indiana, the county, pursuant to the provisions of Indiana Code 822-3 as amended the Act. And whereas the authority desires to issue revenue bonds pursuant to the Act to I, refund certain outstanding revenue bonds of the authority, the refunding, and I, finance certain improvements, extensions, and additions to the to the airport system, the project, as more fully set forth in summary fashion in the authority resolution as hereinafter defined, attached hereto as Exhibit A and made a part thereof. And whereas the board of the authority has determined that the project is necessary, that the refunding will enable the authority to obtain a reduction in interest payments, affect the savings to the authority, and provide the authority with greater flexibility in the issuance of debt, and whereas Indiana Code 822-3-18.1 requires the Board of Commissioners of the county, the board, to approve the issuance of revenue bonds by the authority, and whereas on August 16, 2016, the authority adopted its authority resolution, preliminarily determining to issue revenue bonds of the authority, the Series 2016 bonds, to be issued in the aggregate principal amount not to exceed $4,500,000 pursuant to the provisions of the Act for the purpose of procuring funds to apply to the cost of refunding and the project together with expenses on account of the issuance thereof, and whereas the authority has requested the approval of the board for the issuance of the Series 2016 bonds pursuant to Indiana Code 8-22-3-18.1, and the board now finds that the issuance of the 2016 bonds should be approved. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Commissioners of Porter County, Indiana. Section 1, the board does now hereby approve the issuance of the Series 2016 bonds of the authority payable solely from the revenues of the airport system pursuant to the provisions of the Act, including specifically Indiana Code 822-3-18.1, and in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $4,500,000 for the purposes of procuring funds to apply to the cost of the refunding and the project, together with expenses on account of the issuance thereof. The terms of the Series 2016 bond shall be as set forth in an approving ordinance to be adopted by the authority in accordance with Indiana Code 822-3-18.1. Prior to the issuance of the Series 2016 bonds, but in any event, the Series 2016 bond shall mature no later than January 1st, 2036, and shall be sold at a price equal to, not less than, 98% of their par value. Section 2, this resolution shall be in full force and effect upon its passage. Passed and adopted by the Commissioners of Porter County, Indiana, this the blank day of blank 2016, with signature lines for the Commissioners and attested to by the Auditor.
Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Just so you know, there will be a public hearing on September 20th before the authority on an ordinance. Now, two resolutions and an ordinance, I think is how it works.
Thank you.
But thank you, as always, for your
Thank
support
you.
of the airport.
Thank you.
Okay, Parks. We're going to do an ordinance this time, establishing a fund for the deposit of proceeds from the National Association of Realtors to the Porter County Park Department. This is first reading. Dave Hollenbeck and Walter Lenkos.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Having both a daughter and a son-in-law who are pediatricians who treat kids with cancer, thank you. We are here today pursuant to the State Board of Accounts' desire that when we receive a grant, we open up a separate fund into which those monies are deposited. In this case, Walter has succeeded in securing a grant from the National Association of Realtors for the hiring of a consultant to conduct the community needs assessment portion of the Park Department's comprehensive plan that's in the process of being developed right now. This facilitates the segregation of those grant monies and, pursuant to the auditor's desires, fulfills our obligation to maintain a separate fund for the grant proceeds. We'll answer any questions. I may editorially say, Walter, this is one of the latest versions of the efforts that have succeeded by Walter to obtain multiple grants from multiple sources on behalf of the Park Department activities.
Very good. Questions, anyone? Okay, we're going to have to do a public hearing for the ordinance, so we'll open the public hearing, and typically we let you set the table. You've already done that, so we'll open up the public hearing to anyone who wants to speak in favor of or in opposition to this proposed ordinance. So anyone wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance, go on forward. Name and address, please.
My name is Rick Hudson, 574 North 50 West, Valparaiso. I'm the current park board president, and I'm in favor of this ordinance.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance? Third and final time for anyone wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition of this ordinance? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition of this ordinance? Third and final time, anyone wishing to speak in opposition of this ordinance? Public hearing is closed. Anything? Nothing? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Okay.
Thank you. Next meeting.
Very good. An ordinance authorizing the creating of Porter County Highway Rainy Day Fund. Legislative update, Ed Charbonneau and Ed Salovey. You guys are welcome to come forward. Thanks for being here, and appreciate your sitting through our first hour.
I think to sort of set these gentlemen up a little bit, the ordinance that we're looking to authorize or approve sets up a rainy day fund, which is in compliance with the matching fund program from the state of Indiana. Porter County, after the commissioners have sat down and looked at sort of our funding and sort of our obligations for highway, we've pretty much determined that we do not feel that Porter County needs a wheel tax right now. And so what we have done is, the actions today will set us up to create this rainy day fund, which will be able to pull our matching portion of our paving projects or road maintenance projects through the state matching grant. So this action here takes that precedent to set us up for our funding match for the county in perpetuity as long as we have funds in the rainy day account. And I think one of the things that we, obviously this is subject to the council, but one of the things that we plan on doing through the help of you gentlemen is that we plan on moving our major moves money, which is something that this county has very frugally spent, and I commend the past commissioners for setting us up in that position that we are today to be able to do that. And so I think that's right around $5.5 million that we'll be moving over from our major moves money into this rainy day fund. So as soon as that action takes place, we're pretty much set up for just those funds for the next several years for our paving programs for the county. So along with all that setup, I can't even begin to tell everybody how much assistance we got from these two gentlemen here in getting this done downstate. So with that, I'll let you gentlemen have the floor, and you can go from there.
Well, thank you, Jeff. And Jeff had asked me to talk a little bit about some other things we've been able to do because they're near and dear to my heart. Harry Truman said that the secret of politics is friends, not enemies. Once you're elected, you will pick up all the enemies you need. One of the things I've been thankful for is the friendship of the council and the commissioners. Sometimes you disagree. Both Ed and I try to not get in your hair, but when you have come to us, we have tried to be responsive. And 8 years ago, I drafted a bill to create the ability, a tool for you all, to use the hospital funds in a foundational way. Huge pushback from the then commissioners and council, and so I put it in a drawer. And then there was another effort about 6 years ago. Some folks were interested, and again pushed back, and we put it back in the drawer. A few years ago, the council and the commissioners, in a bipartisan way, said, "Would you do something?" And there are two theories. I happen to subscribe to one. One is that government should never save money. Illinois is a really good example of that, carried to its reductio ad absurdum. The other is there are opportunities in life that only come along once in a generation, once in a lifetime. And one of those was the sale of the hospital. And so I commend the commissioners and the council for the wisdom in using those funds, because once they're gone, they're gone. And so we worked together, Ed and I and you all, to create a tool that you've been able to use. So I thank you for that, and I thank you for the opportunity to thank you. It took a lot of work, a lot of, Commissioner Blaney came down and testified, found what an exciting role boredom can be, but thankful for that. The second thing that I'd like to say in a legislative update way, a fundamental belief I have, and that is that people, the government should not take people's property without an overwhelming, compelling public interest. Now, I have stayed relatively quiet because that's how things get done. But Senator Charbonneau and I, he will carry it in the Senate, I will have it in the House, clarifying our law that says that you must have, and it'll be a little more detailed than this, and we've already met with the railroads, the major ones, that you must have a compelling interest to take people's property. That law was last dealt with, I believe, in 1888. It may have a little different time, a different place. So I know Ed and I would hope that you would be supportive of us in going forward with that. To me, that is a fundamental belief of our democracy. The third thing is what you're here for today, and when I became chairman of the House Transportation Committee, there was a lot of noise, as there is across America, about the state of our roads and bridges. And there was one school of thought that said, they'll never be satisfied, they'll always want more. And there was another side that said things are getting pretty bad across the country, and you can read articles in The Economist and all kinds of things. So if we compare ourselves to other states, I always like to benchmark, but why should we be proud of being valedictorian in a class of dunces? So we took the first year in the Infrastructure Study Committee. I carried a bill that year. Ed may have been carried it in the Senate. We created an Infrastructure Study Committee and did nothing but gather data. And there was a huge hue and cry, and there's two schools of thought, and again, I'll share with you mine, and I believe held by most of the legislature. Every time there's not enough money, the state should take care of it, and the locals will spend it. And it's a wonderful world, but it doesn't exist. So I was fairly straightforward. I've chaired that committee, shared the chairmanship with a Senate counterpart for the last 6 years. And we were both very clear. We're going to include locals, but the problem is the local data set is very, very weak. And again, you all, because of what you're are doing today and the application, which I believe is approved for $1 million match from the state, we should know fairly shortly, but I'm pretty certain you've been approved. What we said was that we'll help you get the tools, but we're not going to pay for it all by the state. It's just, there needs to be local accountability. It's much tougher to do your job than it is to do mine, but that's how it is. There needs to be some local accountability. So we said, we'll create some tools, we'll define the problem, we'll decide how much it's going to cost. But the more we looked at it, the weaker we found the data from the locals. City's probably the worst. You all, because the Farm Bureau and LTAP looks fairly close, but still not great as compared to what the state had. But the best we could tell at that time, locals needed about $460 million more dollars a year. $3 billion over 10 won't even scratch it, even if you thought you could do it. So $460 million, that number has now grown with the greater data to about $528 million a year, just for locals. That's counties and cities. Most folks don't understand. People would say to me, why do they have to change tolls? Why do they have to charge tolls after the bonds are paid off? Well, there's a really good reason. Concrete lasts about 30 years, asphalt about 15 years, and just about the time the bonds are paid off, the concrete falls apart. So, we have cities on 70-year paving schedules. And so they keep reskinning, the expense goes up. So, in 2013, we did a bill which took all of the diversions of gasoline tax out. No state police, no BMV, no nothing. It's all going to roads and bridges. At the same time, we said to NDOT, we want you to create for us a tool. And it looks like a spreadsheet. Across the top is all of the ways you can fund roads, and good, better, and best. Now, we're not going to compete with Florida, who has tourist money, and we're not going to compete with Texas, who has oil money, but we can certainly be in the top quarter. And so we have that tool, and it was enlightening. We all get in serious trouble when the CAFE standards kick in 2025. 54.5 miles to the gallon, more electrics, more alternative fuels. We will, right now, the gasoline tax, which hasn't been raised since 2003, the diesel tax since 1988, yields about 11 cents in buying power. By the time this is over, just to continue the decline at the current rate, we would have to double the gasoline tax. Hence, it is a gasoline tax short-term measure. So, the part for you all was the creation of a very efficient matching grant system. You don't have to do much. The day you sign the contract, you get the check. If you're under budget, good deal, you get some more road money. If you're over budget, well, it's, you've heard this before, it's your problem. So, but we wanted it efficient, we wanted to get the money out there. So, we got over $193 million available this year in the matching grant program, in all of the tools we gave out, and we know one size doesn't fit all. I mean, for you to raise a wheel tax, actually, folks won't want to hear this, but you do a pretty good job of managing the business here. So you had your choice of what tools to use, and you're doing just exactly what we all talked about and hoped you would do. Use good judgment and wisdom and move forward. So we only had $147 million worth of applications, so that money will roll over into next year. We thought next year would be probably only $65 million, but that we never can predict what sales tax is going to do. And we are taking a piece of the gasoline sales tax. And then the following year and the years thereafter, there is $100 million for certain in matching money. So what you're doing today has, now remember, unless it's in the Constitution, legislators change every 2 years, and we're seeing some pretty scary proposals out there right now that really haven't looked at what it costs. To take care of what we've got is the number I shared with you at the local level. When we add the state and just finish things we've started, that's $1 billion new money every year. To build for the future, and make no mistake, when that Panama Canal opens, we're all going to see the projected growth is about 3% in traffic per year, compounded, to see where we're at going into the future. So to build for the future, just what we know, the number is probably $1.3 billion. So $3 billion over 10 years, or $1.3 billion annually. The numbers don't match. So we're trying to work through that right now, but I commend you on the vision, for being responsible, and I thank you for all the support you've given over the years. And I will say this, that nobody does anything alone. If you think it's tough to get 3 votes together, you ought to try to get 51 in the House and 26 in the Senate. It's been my partner through it all. I can't thank him enough for that. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to use good judgment and wisdom sitting next to the Emperor of Roads and Infrastructure for the state of Indiana. I'm going to keep quiet. I think Ed did a tremendous job of explaining where we are, what's going on, and we're in the business of people, and I think you folks understand the importance of bipartisanship, working together, And I think that both Ed and I ascribe to that policy quite well, and in most all of our legislation at any time has both parties on the bill. So thank you very much for letting us.
Jeff asked me to mention one other thing, which I think is another example of people working together, from the sheriff to Jeff, the commissioners. We're building Valparaiso's building a new grade school. And the parties wanted the stoplight. The law is very clear. Lights have to be warranted. That means there has to be a traffic count. That law is being rewritten right now. I happen to have the draft already done, assuming I get reelected. But the answer was no to a traffic light. And so I spent some time with NDOT, and they said, well, we can't do a light, but we'll pay for a roundabout. That ought to be worth some noise right there. And I said, wait a minute, I'm not doing that without getting the stakeholders together. And we had a room full, just as we did for the county fair. We had commissioners there. I'm thankful the sheriff was there. And in both cases, we wound up with unanimous votes, bipartisan. There's going to be a roundabout, and I would say this about the roundabout. One, it's $1.5 million that the state's going to pay. The county has been very cooperative and very helpful. And those folks who hate roundabouts, all I can tell you this is you don't get killed in a roundabout. It slows traffic down. Long term, they're cheaper to maintain. And third of all, when the electricity and power goes off, the roundabout still works. So I thank you again for the cooperation. It took 2 phone calls, and we had a room full of people who all worked toward a solution, not toward what do we disagree about, but what do we agree about. So thank you all.
Well, thank you, Ed, because that was a lot of heavy lifting. That was a big ask, and thank you.
As someone who heads into Valpo from the south on Highway 2 every day, thank you.
Just make sure they're big enough to get a school bus through.
Here's the deal, John. I'm so glad you brought that up. We actually do a class for folks who don't believe that you can get a fire truck or a semi through. There is a way to do it. Actually, those are Purdue engineers. I had a friend of mine I went to school with who called and yelled at me about who's in charge, and he thought it was a politician. They're actually Purdue engineers. So we're happy, I'm not a we, separation of powers, but the state is more than happy to show you the truck line. And we had that argument here in Valparaiso, and even when the fire department drove the fire truck around, people still didn't believe it. They thought it was done by magic. As long as the magic works, why, that's... But again, John, just in fairness, the light was not going to happen. We're going to have little kids there, and there's a curve, and the sight line's not good. And again, we decided it as a team, and I think we got to the right conclusion.
They've been in use in Europe for hundreds of years, so I think they're fairly efficient. Okay, we need to do a public hearing on this ordinance, so we'll open a public hearing. And again, we've already stated the reason for the authorizing the ordinance. So public hearing is open. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance? Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance? Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this ordinance? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this ordinance? Last time. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this ordinance? Public hearing is closed. I'll entertain a motion.
John, I just want to point out real quick, too, not only does this create the Porter County Highway Rainy Day Fund, but it's also asking that the initial contribution come from the restricted portion of that lowest special distribution. So we would ask the council also to then move, besides the major moves money,
Right.
A little over $1.3 million into this rainy day fund, and also the rainy day, the major moves portion to get us closer to maybe $7 million.
I might add to that Jeff mentioned earlier the foresight in preserving the major moves money, and 80% of that credit should go to Bob Poprod from the county council, because he was adamant that money go to that fund. So, that being said, with your caveat, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you for your
Thank you for all
service
your help.
and everything you do for us. We
Yep.
really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, another ordinance creating a non-reverting fund for the receipt of charitable donations for capital projects for the Porter County Animal Shelter.
Another ordinance.
Okay. It's
I
pretty
can talk about this.
self-explanatory.
Yeah, this one is, the animal shelter had a donation fund. This one here is for large capital projects. This is obviously created first and foremost to handle the $1 million donation that we'll be getting for the building of the animal shelter. So that's what this was created for, and also to keep it separated from the other donation fund that is dealing with much smaller numbers for much smaller issues.
Okay, very good. We'll open a public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance? Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance? Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this ordinance? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this ordinance? Last time, anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this ordinance? Public hearing is closed. I'll entertain a motion.
I will make the motion to approve the ordinance establishing a fund for deposit of charitable donations for capital projects for the Porter County Animal Shelter.
Non-reverting fund.
I'll second it.
Motion is second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. An ordinance amending Title 17 zoning regulations, campaign signs.
Again, I think there was some confusion over the last several years as to exactly what the county's campaign sign ordinance stated. This is to clear it up. It's pretty straightforward, brings us into line with the local municipalities. The highlights would be 30 days before an election, they can go up, come down 7 days after. The sign should not exceed 32 square surface feet out of the public right-of-ways, et cetera. I would ask that you would approve it on first reading.
Okay. Questions, comments? Okay. Anyone wishing to, public hearing is open. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance? Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance? Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this ordinance? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this ordinance? Last time, anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this ordinance? Public hearing is closed. I'll entertain a motion on the ordinance amending Title 17.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay. Mike Anton, Lee Westergan, Anton Insurance, revised plan document and summary plan description of the group healthcare plan overview report on the Excel benefits.
Thank you.
Michael, how are you?
I'm by myself today. Lee overscheduled herself, apparently.
That means you're going to only need half the time, right?
Yeah, okay. I'm going to move quickly. I know it's a long agenda. Forwarded to you by digital transmission, you received a copy of a revised summary plan description of the group health care plan for the employees of Porter County government. There's really just two significant revisions to this plan. One is simply was to insert in the plan description references to reference-based repricing so that it was incorporated. The other major addition to the plan was underutilization review on page 32 was simply that a number of additional pre-certification requirements were included, and simply the purpose of that is to maintain an insight from the INETICO in terms of our large case management and disease management, so that we have somewhat greater control in the pricing and the handling and making sure that the employees that would fall into those classifications are getting the best services available. So I ask you to approve that plan document that would be distributed to the employees participating in the plan.
Questions? Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you. I just want to make another statement, if I may. At the last commissioners' meeting that I came before you, Commissioner Good asked what the total spend was for the calendar year of 2015, and I didn't have the answer for you. And I just want to report that under the health insurance claims account for the county, that this total disbursement was $8,912,040.45.
So we were 88,000 under the budget.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Actually, when you asked me that question, I didn't think we were quite there. I mean,
I didn't know, that's why I asked.
I thought we were a little higher. So, if I may take a few more minutes, I'd like to share a few observations drawn from a historical look back over the past 3 years. The two prior years to 2015, total claims were $10,770,000 and some change, and $10,576,000 and some change, versus $6,047,987 for last year's, representing a claim reduction in total expense of over $4 million. Enrollment changes can often distort this representation, though, so underwriters focus on groups per employee per month claim spend. Porter County's average per employee per month claims for the 13-14 and 14-15 plan years was $1,520. The per employee per month claims for the 15-16 year was $927, or a 39% reduction, so that's pretty significant.
Mm-hmm.
Large claim frequency also dropped dramatically. For the previous 4 years, Porter County has averaged 11 members with claims over $150,000. For the 15-16 plan year, only 2 claimants exceeded the specific deductible, and one of these claimants was primarily the result of a run-in claim from the prior year and under the First Health Network. Severity of large claims also decreased. For the 15-16 plan year, the largest claimant was $208,000. Each of the prior 4 years had claimants exceed $350,000 in paid claims. What jumps out to us is that the Board of Commissioners' decision to move to reference-based pricing, along with more intense handling of large case and disease management issues, in addition to a meaningful wellness program, has come to these outcomes. Going forward, it is believed that the additional pre-cert requirements that we just referenced in the SPD will bolster continued downward trending. Plan incentives to increase wellness participation, review of life choices disincentives, i.e. smoking, and the establishment of a 2-tiered network that encourages participants to utilize contracted facilities would have a positive effect on controlling claim spending. So that's our report. We'd be certainly open to discussion, to any recommendations the commissioners, we're not open, but we'll certainly follow through on your directive of any issues you want to discuss.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Good news, very good news.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
We're certainly moving in the right direction.
yes. Okay.
Okay, that's all I have. I thank you for your consideration, and I appreciate the timing was perfect. I can still make a tea time.
Man, wait a minute, we're not done.
John's been holding there.
Okay. Mike Jabo, DLZ, Jail Security Project, video tech, application and certificate for payment number 4 in the amount of $40,000, $12,000 of which is from a previous approved change order.
Yep.
How are you, Michael?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I do well. Before you, and I've got the original pay applications here, you have the pay application number 4. Work is progressing well. Matter of fact, tomorrow there is a meeting at the subconsultant or subcontractor to Videotech that is designing the system. The sheriff's staff will get to review the system, make any final tweaks or changes while it's still in their shop, and then sometime in September it will be scheduled that they'll come up, send the system down, install the system, which will be about a 2+ week process, and they'll be up and running.
So you're thinking 1st October is your bogey to get her up and running?
That's what the hope is. We're working on fine-tuning the schedule right now, so.
Okay.
But the sheriff's staff's been very involved in the logistics while the system is down. Tomorrow there'll be continued discussion. So you do have payment application number 4. I do believe the bill of sale went in that the bank required.
Just so everybody knows, again, to recap this, this is a $1.1 million project to upgrade the security system at the Porter County Jail. And it's something that was needed very desperately, and we're almost there. But $1.1 million, so thank you.
Okay, is there
I'll make the motion.
Okay,
Second.
motion to approve the 40,000, less the 12,000, the 12,000's already been approved before, but it's,
No, the 12,
okay.
this is we had approved the change order, but this is the actual agreement. I just wanted to point out, because at some point at the end here, we're going to have to circle back around and pay off the change order.
Exactly.
Beyond the financing.
Okay. So the motion is for the amount of $40,000. And there was a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you for your...
Thanks, Michael.
Kevin Pizzur, appointment of Porter County Historian by the state of Indiana, which is quite an honor. Come on up, Kevin.
Thank you, and I only need 9.7 million, so this should be pretty fast. Just kidding, obviously.
The applications are in that room across the hall.
You're just trying to get new doors on the... Cameras would be wonderful, but you
Don't tell him anything. Don't tell him anything.
functional door would be fantastic. Stricken from the record, obviously. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Good afternoon, everyone. I will make this very brief, as this has been a long meeting, and I don't know how you put yourselves through this so often, but I thank you for it. I've had the privilege of being appointed by the Indiana Historical Society and the Indiana History or Historical Bureau as Porter County Historian. I am the youngest in the state of Indiana, and I hold the distinction of being the first to be born after the program was founded in 1981. So I might not look the part, but I'll tell you I'm working very hard to make my predecessors proud. The folder before you has a bit of information on the left side, a little bit about the Porter County Museum, where I have served as executive director for the last 8.5 years. On the right side is a little bit of an explanation of what my role is as an unpaid historian for the state of Indiana. I will tell you, I have great passion for Porter County's history, and I do feel what we are doing is significant, especially in the bicentennial year. Mr. Soliday made reference to once-in-a-lifetime moments, and I feel like we are in the business of celebrating all of those once-in-a-lifetime moments so that people don't forget the great history Porter County has. I've taken the initiative to get out of the museum building and circulate throughout Porter County. I've presented to town councils in Ogden Dunes, Chesterton, Porter, Burns Harbor, Beverly Shores, Dune Acres, and I plan to see the rest of the councils all throughout the county in September, just simply introducing myself and letting people know we've got a great history here. And I think that's due in part to the great people who have lived here and continue to live here. So thank you for the privilege to serve not only in this role as historian, but to be at the helm of the Porter County Museum.
Well, thank you, Kevin. You do a great job.
Well, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Kevin.
Okay, moving right along. Office holders and department heads. Edie Hahn, Sheriff's Department. Frontline Foundation contract.
We have
substance
one more
abuse
thing on
treatment.
there, John.
Did I forget?
Approval of...
Oh, I forgot structure point. Uh-oh. Can you wait just a second? Approval of American Structure Point General Service Agreement.
Scott, have you reviewed that?
I have.
And everything looks...
Everything's in order, just a normal general service agreement.
Okay.
Okay, is there a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, office holders and department heads. Edie Hahn, Sheriff's Department Frontline Foundation contract, substance abuse treatment for the jail. Approval of the sheriff's pension for the amount of $443,795 from excess Lloyd from the state, and the caring place agreement to provide inmate services. That's not all for the sheriff, right? That pension, $443,000. It's not only for just the sheriff, it's for all the people on the...
No.
Okay, I thought he was overpaid already. Okay, what do you want to tell us, Edie?
Where do you want to start?
Let's do the Frontline Foundation contract.
Well, this is all pursuant to a grant that we received from DLC and from the Indiana Criminal Justice Institute to start a treatment program, a community therapeutic community concept in the jail. And then we expanded it, which is why the representative here is from the Caring Place. But the first one is Frontline, so we contracted out with them, and you signed the contract.
Well, and maybe a lot of people don't know what Frontline does, but they work a lot with youth in rehabilitation and drugs and...
Right, but they've expanded now. This will be in our jail. It won't be with youth. It will be for male and female adults, primarily males, adults, in the jail.
Okay. And is there a dollar amount on the contract?
$11,920. Wait, that's for the whole thing?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the whole, they give you a breakdown, I was looking at it wrong. That's the total.
Yeah.
I'll make the motion.
Motion, is there a second? Motion is second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion approved. And then the pension in the amount of, geez, that's a big amount, $443,795. And what period does that cover?
Half the year.
Half a year.
The second half, right?
Second half.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
And that's coming from the Lowit, the excess from the Lowit. So we had the other portion went into the rainy day, and this is the remainder that's going to pay pension. Gotcha.
Questions? Is there a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion is second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And the Caring Place agreement to provide inmate services.
We have a representative from the Caring Place, but what we've done is expanded what they're doing in the Caring Place involving females. We've now included male adults involving domestic violence in our therapeutic. It won't be part of the therapeutic community, but it'll be part of the programs that we are offering the inmates.
It's being paid by the DLC grant that we've already had approved, and it's already in.
Okay.
So it's not costing us anything? Oh, my gosh.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Right. Did we get it all? Okay. Good, thanks. CJ Whitmer, 911 Director. Critical pre-employment testing software and priority dispatch, 1-year renewal contract.
So, I'd like to shave a little bit of time off. Since we've taken at the front end of this meeting, we took a lot of time, and I appreciate you allowing us to do that demo with Motorola and the state. The priority dispatch maintenance agreement, there's a piece of the puzzle that I'm still waiting on from the vendor. Scott and I talked about the one piece that I was waiting on, and they didn't get it to me by this meeting. So I'd like to table the priority dispatch maintenance agreement until maybe your next commissioners meeting.
Yep.
The Bill Consulting, the hiring process software that we use, we've had for probably about a decade now. We just are ending a 4-year maintenance agreement, and so it was up this year. We've been pretty pleased with the software. We run all of our candidates through that to look at certain skills that we kind of require in our line of work, and we really rely on the software to get us some really good candidates. You see on the handout that there are some options for multi-year and a single year. I know that previously when I've had an agreement in front of you for multiple years, we're looking at maybe 1 or 3 years, maybe not extending out too many years on a maintenance agreement. So there's 4 options there, one for 1, 2, 3, and 4 years. Don't know that I have a preference other than there is money to be saved on a multi-year, and maybe we look at something like 3-year.
Well, we were also trying to talk about lining up our event days for our contract. So if that's the case, we would want to look at a 2-year option here, correct?
Absolutely.
So then all of our contracts with 911 all basically end within a 90-day period.
Yeah.
So if we're going to buy new, we got to,
Yep.
would you guys,
And then at least we do realize some savings over the single year then too.
I would make the motion to approve the Critical Call Elite Service Plan with the 2-year contract option.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, pose same sign, motion carries. The only thing I would encourage you to do is to fill all those seats before budget time, because I don't want to see the council take any of your people away. You can't spare them, so
Right.
get them in line, get them trained, and get them in the seats.
We're actually, John, setting up a meeting with the council to go over our 911 staffing requirements and talk about some of the things that need to be done over there, and so we'll be meeting with them sooner rather than later, before we present our budget. Okay. So,
Thank you for your time.
thank you, CJ.
Vicki Urbanek, award the financial payroll software bid and a consulting contract with Sharon Lippens to assist with the conversion of the existing financial payroll software to the new software.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Just to recap some of the history that's gone into this, I'll try to be brief, but I can talk for hours on this topic. Okay, back on May 17th, we formed a committee charged with the responsibility of analyzing our financial and payroll software. You also asked us to look into a time and attendance record-keeping system for county employees. Both of these proposals have been discussed off and on over a number of years. Hopefully, we can finally make progress on this. Proposals were written, an RFP was prepared and advertised, and you opened up the proposals on July 12th. Our committee met a number of times. We tended to have very involved and intense meetings. We asked a lot of questions of each other, and we did a lot of research. I think it's fair to say we did our due diligence. We approached this topic very seriously. We know that it's a major investment that's going to have positive impacts for many, many years to come. This isn't just about a short-term upgrade. And we had, our last committee meeting was August 10th, and we firmed up what we hope to do, and I'm prepared to make the recommendation today. First off, the way that the committee approached our job was to look at the financial and payroll software upgrade sort of separately from the time and attendance system, with the idea of getting that upgrade in place first and then adding the time and attendance system. So, of the proposals that we received and reviewed, we are recommending that we upgrade our financial system to go with the Lau Associates program. Lau is an Indiana company, and they service Indiana entities. In fact, they currently serve 57% of Indiana counties in one capacity or another, either with the financial system or the tax system or both. In fact, most of their clientele have both of the two systems. We have the tax system with Lau, so we're already a client of Lau's. We know these people, we know their professionalism, and we know their response for technical service. In conjunction with the recommendation to go with Lau, I'm also recommending that we retain our former IT director, Sharon Lippens, on a contractual basis. There's two parts to the data conversion. We're not just converting from, let's say, a Windows system to another Windows system. We're converting from one operating system to a Windows system. So there's going to be a lot of data conversion that's necessary. It's a two-pronged data conversion. We have to get our files from our system that's dating back for a very long time into a file that Lau can use and translate into their system. Admittedly, most of the heavy lifting with the data conversion is on Lau's end, but we have to supply these files. And Sharon has been very instrumental in this process, and she also is what seems to be like an expert with the I-Series. And from what I understand, not many people in the IT world are as knowledgeable about the iSeries anymore. Most of us know the Windows system, which is what we're moving towards. So now we're going to talk, if you want to jump into the burning question, what's the cost and how are we going to pay for it? The LAO proposal can be broken down into two components. One is a one-time component, which is an acquisition cost. We're essentially buying their software. There's also a one-time cost for the training, the setup, and the data conversion. So the one-time acquisition cost is just under $160,000. And then the one-time setup and training cost is $57,234, a grand total to LAO of $206,722. And then our local conversion contract, the one that I'm proposing with Sharon Lippens, is $6,000. So that's a pretty small amount when you look at the total. Then there is the annual maintenance fee, and the annual maintenance is $40,652. That's the maximum, and it could go down depending on how much we use the technical support and the training. So to pay for this, I am proposing to use my ineligible homestead fund, the auditor non-reverting fund, for the bulk of the purchase, which would be the one-time acquisition costs of the software. In other words, this investment will not have an impact on the general fund for the most part. I'm proud to say that because of a state law change a few years ago, the county auditors now have to return a portion of the money that they collect for homestead violations to the general fund. And last year, we returned just under $250,000 to the general fund. That's more than what would be needed to cover this project. But I'm not proposing using the general fund for the bulk of this. I think that the auditor non-reverting fund needs to be protected, needs to be preserved for special purchases. It should not be used for ongoing operating costs. And I can think of no other better project at this time than to upgrade our software.
That's great. That's very commendable, Vicki. Yeah.
And then the rest of the costs would come out of your general fund budget. I'm kidding.
For the
My
record,
general fund
too, I
budget.
think what a lot of, it sounds like a lot of money, but again, remember, we're coming off a DOS-based system. I mean, this system is old. So for us to make this move, it's time. It's way past time.
Yeah, it's not
Plus, it's
overdue.
going to provide the services to every office.
Yep. So this is a big, huge upgrade for everybody, and I think it's well overdue. Well overdue.
And Sharon is the best one to do the integration too as well.
Yep.
Why don't we take them both in one motion? The approval of the consulting contract and award the software bid.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thanks, Vicki.
And now
Thank you,
tonight.
committee.
Yes.
Yes, the committee was made up of HR, IT, Treasurer's Office, and the Auditor's Office. And then with the time and attendance system, now that's a separate component. We did bring in the Sheriff's Department and E911. Their scheduling, their payroll, it's a little bit more complex than like a clerical office like my office, where people are expected to work 8:30 to 4:30, Monday through Friday. So we wanted to bring their knowledge and their needs into the decision. We would like to, of the vendors that we looked at, we had a number of demonstrations, and there was one company that seemed to be head and shoulders above the other vendors. And so the committee would like to recommend that we proceed with discussions on a company known as Right Stuff. I don't think we're prepared to move forward with a contract at this point. We haven't analyzed exactly where the funding for this would come from. There's some technological issues like time clocks. We would like some more direction from the commissioners, and maybe you would like to sit in on a demonstration on the system. But we have time. The data conversion to go to LAO is going to take us months. It's going to not be an overnight project, so we do have time to proceed with the time and attendance system. But the goal is to get it in as soon as possible.
Is Right Stuff the fingerprint?
They do have that component. Their time clocks can facilitate a number of ways that employees punch in. We can do the fingerprint, we can do the badge swipe. Also, the other component is that employees would clock in right on the computer. There's also a proposal for the scheduling component, where the department heads schedule the employees, and that is how their time is recorded. And then all of this gets integrated with our payroll system. So instead of having employees type in or write in, Susie Q took 3 vacation days this week, and John took 4 sick days or whatever, it will be all automated, and it will move in seamlessly, hopefully.
I can swipe somebody else's name badge, I can enter somebody else in on the computer,
Exactly.
but I can't cut off somebody's finger and use it.
Well, you could.
Actually, I could.
Yeah, you could.
Do you have any idea how much the difference in expenses between these systems, or are you still working on that?
Well, a new proposal came up with the time clocks, and that's one thing that we want to look at. But right now, we're looking at a base one-time total cost, if we go with the more sophisticated time clocks, of $96,000. And then there's the ongoing maintenance fees of about $36,000.
Have we figured out how many we need?
Well, tentatively, we were budgeting for 28, but we didn't do a formal survey with all of the departments, and some departments may not want to use the time clocks. However, you may want to tell the departments, no, everyone's using the time clocks. That's where we need, you guys to weigh in.
And the other thing we have to keep in mind is that with the first step is we got to get all this data converted into LAO, which is going to take us till what, June of 2017, May? What's fast as possible? Just give me the short answer.
April, maybe.
Okay. We also, simultaneously or after, we also have to get all of our payroll moved over and get that in the new system.
Yes.
So I do think this is a great time for us to be able to figure out what we want, how we want to pay for it, so it all it works with it. But the truth is, if we approved it today, it's still, it's the third thing on the track, so to speak.
Yeah, and plus also, we are in the process of, we're like on our 3rd, 4th draft of our employee manual, and so we're actually going back and redoing our entire employee manual, and it's pretty sophisticated with some of the different departments, and we haven't quite figured out if we're going to split them into the different departments and have 3 manuals. We're still working through that, so that's something else that needs to be folded into this discussion as well, too.
Right, and Pam and I and the committee, we have all discussed that this might be a perfect opportunity to implement some other changes, like moving the pay, the quarter,
Quarter out.
Yeah, also maybe moving our pay schedule so that we are away from the pay current schedule.
Yes.
Yes. So we do have time to analyze the time and attendance system.
Okay.
Very good. Thanks again, Vicki.
Well, thank you.
Great job.
Don Wells, ITS Interim Director. Adams Remco, purchase and copier maintenance agreement for stormwater. Videotech quote, 2 FOB controller doors for stormwater management department.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
The first one, we have a new copy machine for the new stormwater department. They're paying that out of their own funds. They're paying the maintenance out of their own funds, too.
Great.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And Videotech quote.
This is also part of the remodeling for the stormwater department. We're installing 2 badge locks on the 2 hallway doors and another one on the interior door between the public and the private offices.
Questions?
So moved.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Don. Commissioner Lisa Moser, 4D Court, JDC, Dawson Consulting agreement for reimbursement claims.
Commissioner Moser couldn't be present, but basically what this is part of is the commissioner, sometimes we call her magistrate, but basically for Dawson does the paperwork and the figuring on our reimbursement from the federal 4D program for the money they utilize for the resources we expend on collecting child support. So this is that agreement. So basically, we've done a couple of these because there was one actually from the 4D prosecutor, there's one for the auditor for the other expenses, this one is for the court for those type of expenses. This all comes together, and this is what we ask the federal government to reimburse. I believe the reimbursement rate is 66 2/3%, something along that range. I would recommend that we approve it.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Max Steckley, Facilities Director. Belfour General Services Agreement, Disaster Recovery Services. Cole Audio, change order, award RFP for backup cooling for the IT server room to Circle R Mechanical.
Good evening. I'll be very brief. First, we'll take a look at the Belfour agreement. Belfour is an organization basically in disaster recovery. It's a safeguard for the county for our assets that car goes through a building, pipe breaks in the middle of the night on a fourth floor somewhere, just basically the event of a disaster, that they're a one-call stop shop and can assist me and help me with the resources I need to deal with a disaster. So it's basically just a general services agreement saying that it's what they do and the facilities that would be under this agreement.
And this is just a T&M?
Correct. It's one of those you hope you never have to use it, but something major happens, I would definitely need the support and assistance.
Okay, questions? Will we pay for that as we use it, when we use it, if we ever use it?
Correct.
Okay, so there's no cost for the agreement.
I'll make the motion to approve the agreement with Belfour.
Second. Motion is second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Cole Audio, change order.
The new audio system in lower level 102A and these chambers here has been completed. There was two items that came up. The workstations that IT was to provide in-house were not compatible. They had problems installing and converting the software. While on site, they had to provide their own to work with their own internal equipment. So we had to, basically, that's part of the change order, was 2 desktops, workstations, and then the other was in 102A, where we designed that room for multiple types of meetings, but specifically stormwater, and being the number of members on the board and at the front table, that we needed a few additional wireless mics to really record everything the way it should be, so it's really clear and concise, instead of moving a microphone around, or there's loud spots and quiet spots in the audio.
Questions? Motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
And then finally, you have in front of you, I added it as we were coming in. I've discussed this with IT. This, when I first came on board, basically, your industry standard is more than one piece of equipment that backs up the cooling. The IT servers, basically over 88 degrees, you start losing switch. We've got over $1 million invested in our IT infrastructure, and there's only one source of cooling. And this cooling, at least here at the admin, has gone down 3 times in the last 7 months. Every time we've been able to fix it quick, but it's wise and smart planning to put a backup AC system here and at North County. So I'm asking for approval for both systems for the proposal before you.
But Matt, but go on a little bit. You got 3 quotes.
I have 3 quotes, correct.
And we got and when you originally quoted it out, you had both North County and this building on the quote, correct?
Correct.
And that was on this email that you gave us, and Circle R was the lowest quote of $23,340. Mechanical Concepts and Precision Controls, both also a bid and were slightly higher. You originally contemplated just doing this building, that's why it originally got on our agenda just for...
Correct. I was just going to do that. They added in...
Clear up that when you originally did it, you quoted all 3. I mean, you quoted both.
Correct, and then talking with IT, we're having issues over there. It's just while I'm here and while we have some funds in my budget, let's do it.
so I just wanted to be clear how we got to where we're at.
Yes.
So that's a breakdown.
So are these like Mitsubishi units, or?
Yeah, they're ductless mini splits.
They are, yep.
All right, so I'll entertain a motion for the award, but I needed to state the dollar amount to Circle R, so that would be
Right here,
340. Okay, $23,340.
Correct.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion is second, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, pose same sign, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. The building looks good, keep power washing.
Yep.
Trying.
Scott McDonald, Opera House Director.
Uh-oh.
You
got
have,
a lot of things here.
I have a lot of things going
I'm
on.
going to read through them, and I think we can do this pretty quickly.
Sure.
Matt Shistik, Artistic Service Agreement. Kyle Lidke, Artistic Service Agreement. Philip Herod, Artistic Service Agreement. Great Lakes Sound Chorus Venue Rental Agreement for a nonprofit. Valerie Baylaw, Artistic Service Agreement. Don Parker, Artistic Service Agreement. Troy Webdell, Artistic Service Agreement. South Shore Orchestra Artistic Service Agreement, South Shore Orchestra Venue Rental Agreement, nonprofit for November the 11th, 2016. South Shore Orchestra Venue Rental Agreement, nonprofit for December 16, 2016. Deborah Silvert Venue Rental Agreement, nonprofit for November 16, 2016. That same date as you had, no, that's, I'm sorry. Deborah Silvert Venue Rental Agreement, nonprofit for January 18, 2017. Deborah Silvert Venue Rental Agreement, nonprofit for May 17, 2017. Great Lakes Sound Chorus Venue Rental Agreement, nonprofit. Kathleen Dominic, Artistic Service Agreement. Andrew Flash, Artistic Service Agreement. Entertain a motion to approve all these.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you
Scott,
very
I'd like
much.
to congratulate you on the recent popular press that you got.
Thank you.
All the good work that's going on at the Opera House. We're back in the black.
Yes.
We're making money, and a lot of good things are happening. A great testament to all the folks over there, and Commissioner Blaney, who rides herd over that place too. And it's definitely trending up. Good to see. Thank you.
Thank you. If I can just say really quickly too, I just did totals on our season ticket pre-sales. We're $7,000 over where we were last year at this point when we released to the general public. We're at $36,000 in season ticket sales, which is unprecedented for the last 5 years. So we're very, very excited over there.
Good work.
Yeah, thank you.
I was going to say, I think you're doing a great job maneuvering with the contracts. You're getting them done, you're getting them signed, you're getting them turned in, and
Trying.
it's working very well.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Van.
Okay, I had one other thing from the Health Department. Scott, you had a chance to look at that
Yes.
extension of
Yes.
the lease for the North County complex for the Porter County Health Department?
Yeah,
And it's okay?
yeah, it's just 1 year,
Yeah.
correct? Right.
Yeah.
So moved.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, pose same sign, motion carries. Report from commissioners.
I missed that one.
Oh, is there no written,
Yeah, that's what I was looking for, John.
is there no written? Just,
Here's this sheet.
where's that?
That's under number one, items from Ray Rail.
Under mine. That's what I got.
Here. You can read this.
Yeah,
That's your, oh, no, that's south, you're north.
okay. Let's do South District first. You got your...
LPA claim form number 7 for Porter County Replacement Bridge 62, County Road 625 West over Kankakee River in the amount of $6,310.20. Recommend approval.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye. LPA claim form number 4 for County Road South, 2,000 feet west of County Road 725 West to 1,000 feet east of County Road 500 West for intersection and site distance improvement in the amount of $18,279.70. Recommend approval.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Pose same sign. Motion carries. Center District.
LPA claim form number 1, Kankakee Valley RAMC for relocating electric facilities for intersection improvements at Smoke and Division Road in the amount of $91,423.10. Recommend approval.
Second.
Motion and second, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries.
I just want to make a quick note. I was, drove out there to that project yesterday at Smoke and Division, and it's looking very nice, very, very, very good. So, that's going to be a huge improvement. Release of performance bond and acceptance of subdivision per Porter County Unified Development Ordinance for Arbor Lakes Unit C, recommend approval.
Second.
Motion and second, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries.
Tower Meadows, irrevocable standby letter of credit number HACH 5068460S from BMO Harris Bank in the amount of $176,328. Recommend approval.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. North District easement for NIPSCO right-of-way prepared in 2009, delivered to the county in 2016. NIPSCO is requesting acceptance for execution. Recommend approval.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. LPA claim forms number 6 and number 7 in the amount of $20,018.24 and $43,071.09 for the replacement of Porter County Bridge number 156, Porter Avenue over Coffee Creek. Recommend approval.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And INDOT report of contract final inspections and recommendation for acceptance for Porter County Bridge number 156, Porter Avenue, over Coffee Creek. Recommend approval.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Correspondence. We have on file the Treasurer's Monthly Report for June 2016. We have response data report from the Porter EMS Services for a period of January 2016 through June 2016. We request for approval by John Miller of Porter Lodge number 137, Tree and Accepted Masons, to place a memorial bench at the Porter County Administration Building. The bench would be similar to the courthouse bench with a pedestal of 34 inches by 10 inches by 16 inches, holding a seat that would be 40 inches by 14 inches by 4 inches. It will be made of white marble. Inscriptions would include the universal symbol and square compass, including the Masonic York Rite symbol, with the lodge name and date of installation. If approved, they would like to install a bench in the front northeast section of the entryway, possibly underneath a tree at the street level. There will be no cost to the taxpayers.
Right there.
Yeah.
Make the motion.
Second.
Well, before we do that, I just like to say that marble is not the most conducive material to put underneath a tree. It's going to weather, and it's going to turn dark, and it's not going to be legible. I don't think that the bench that's there is in marble. I think it's in granite. So, but I'll do whatever you want. But I can tell you this, unless somebody washes it about every 6 months, it's going to be black in 3 years.
Could we make the motion contingent upon them looking at
Another material?
another material?
Sure.
I'll make the motion contingent upon Porter Lodge 137 looking at a different material rather than white marble.
I'll second.
Motion is second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Request for approval by Bob Gregg of the Wildlife Advisory Board to retain the services Incredibats. The presentation will be on display at the Sunset Hill Farm, Celebration of Wildlife, Sunday, October the 2nd, between 12 p.m. and 5 p.m. We have 3 of them. Let's do them all at once. Request for approval by Bob Gregg of the Wildlife Advisory Board to retain the services of Animalia Incorporated to present at Sunset Hill Farm Celebration of Wildlife Sunday, October 2nd, 2016, from noon to 5. And a request for approval by Bob Gregg of the Wildlife Advisory Board to purchase picnic tables from R.J. Thomas Manufacturing in the amount of $2,513.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Request for additional appropriation, Highway Department, Fund 1176, $45,000 to account 1111 hourly full-time. This is an additional needed to complete payroll to the end of the year.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Request for additional appropriation, Highway, Fund 1176, $30,000 to account 1130 overtime. Additional needed to complete payroll in case of weather-related issues.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Request for additional appropriation highway, Fund 1135, $70,000 to account 3950 contractual services, additional for engineering invoices on Bridge 156.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye, pose same sign, motion carries. Request to transfer funds highway, Fund 1176, $3,000 from 2470 calcium fluoride to 2220 uniforms and clothing, biannual clothing allotment.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign, motion carries. Request to transfer funds highway, Fund 1176, $500 from 3976 drainage assessment to 2110 office supplies. This is supplies to finish the year.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign, motion carries. Request to transfer funds highway, Fund 1176, $9,000 from 2360 aggregate stone to 2220 uniforms and clothing, biannual clothing allotment.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed, same sign, motion carries.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Just to follow up, I know we just finished on some requests of transfers, additionals for the Highway Department when State Representative Soliday was in front of us talking about our approval getting approved for our matching funds. That's $1 million. So the county is going to be getting another $1 million that will be used for paving projects this year yet. So beginning of the year, if you all recall, we doubled down for $1 million because oil prices were low and we decided to pave more while the timing's right. Well, now the state matching program came into the place and we just got another $1 million. So,
So what's our total
I think-
of paving?
It's 3 or 4.
What
How much have we
about
paid?
our total of paving?
paid so far?
Yeah.
Almost $2 million.
Yeah.
Right below $2 million, I think it's $1,880,000.
But what will our total be for the year?
Three.
Right close to 4.
Right, yeah.
And how many miles of road is that?
Now you're making me guess.
A lot.
Yeah, a lot.
It's a significant increase from what we've been doing, let's put it that way.
We've gone into some subdivisions where it's taken some more money than what we would get per mile on a wedge and an overlay, because these subdivisions have been long overdue and overworked. Like Representative Soliday said, we've got some roads that have been overlooked for 70 years. Well, we haven't got quite that bad, but we're looking at 50-year roads in some of these subs. And so we're having to go in there and almost start over.
Yeah.
So we're spending more money than you would at a regular, just an overlay.
And we've also implemented the Pazer Road System Program to where now we can look at the status of our roads, the conditions of our road. It's all based off the same system that the state of Indiana uses.
Every road in the county is rated from 1 to 10.
It's all graded now. So when people decide, well, why is that road getting paved before that road? It's now all done by computers, and it's all done based off of the data that's inside this program. So we're going to be able to make much more quantitative decisions when it comes to...
And with your permission, we'll have a kind of a PowerPoint presentation coming up soon as we get the material
Great.
from DLC. It'll be at the commissioners meeting when it's available. So probably first of the year.
Yep. So I do know the additional $1 million. We sat down and looked at it. I do believe there's two bridges that we're doing in the north once we get that money. So, and that bridge was up for its upgrade. So it's a good year with regards to paving in Porter County.
And the other thing I think deserves mentioning is the way we acquired this money is unlike Portage's wheel tax, so that we didn't have to tax our citizens. We simply moved money to make this happen. So
There's a lot of work.
Yeah. Okay, anything else? Comments, commercials? Anybody? Okay. We'll go right to Plan Commission. We stand in recess, and we'll call the Plan Commission portion into play. Oh, somebody did wake Bob up. Sorry for the long agenda.
Sorry, John.
No problem. This is Plan Commission Resolution 16-05. This is a zoning map amendment request. Petitioner is Mark Good, requesting the zoning of A1 General Agricultural District be amended to RR Rural Residential District.
Plan Commission heard this at their July 27th meeting and sent it forward to the commissioners with a favorable recommendation by an 8-0 vote.
Okay. So, we don't need to have a public hearing, or we do?
This is a public hearing,
This is-
first reading.
Okay, first reading. So we'll open the public hearing in regard to the rezone A1 General Agriculture District to Rural Residential District, and this is the first reading. Bob's already set the table on what has to occur. Is there anybody here representing the petitioner? You want to come up and tell us just a little bit about your project?
It's a 61-acre parcel.
Can we get your name and...
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm Mark Good. I'm representing Dean and Michelle Williamson back there, and my wife Deb. We're doing it as a partnership. And it's going to be basically a 50-house subdivision. The houses will be $300,000 to $350,000 is our projected range at this point. And we think it's a great location. It's got subdivisions on 3 sides of it already. The drainage is right there, within 350 feet is Kazelke Drain. The soils are great for septics. I've had John McQuestion look at them already. It just seems like a good location, a good time. People are wanting to be in Morgan Township. And so we were really excited about the 8-0 Plan Commission vote, and we asked your favor in giving your stamp of approval.
Great, thank you. Of course, you've sat through a number of these today, but we have to do this again.
Yeah.
Open the public hearing in this regard. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of this rezoning? Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this rezoning? Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this rezoning? Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this rezoning? Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this rezoning? Third and final time, anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this rezoning? Public hearing is closed. Comments, questions?
The Plan Commission was very much in favor of this development.
The only negatives, some of the neighbors said it was going to overtax the school, I understand, or something
Yes,
of that nature.
that was our concern.
That's not in their prerogative, so it's, okay.
I drove by the piece of land yesterday, and it's flat and ready to go.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
I'll make the motion to approve the rezone from A1 to RR
On first reading.
on first reading.
Is there a second?
second.
Motion is second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries. We'll do, can we waive it and do a second now? That's a question for the guy that just came through the door. Scott?
Can we waive it?
Do we waive,
No.
no, we got it, yeah. Okay.
By statute, we can't waive it on the first reading or reason.
Sorry.
Wait, what?
We're gonna waive the second reading.
We're gonna waive it and do
Done
second
now.
reading right now, but
But we can't.
You just,
So we have to have another meeting?
no, we just have to hear it one more time, and that'll be.
So you'll come for
our next
second reading
It'll be
and
a second reading.
A month from now, or?
Yeah, you don't have to come back, we'll.
Oh, okay.
it'll be-
Yeah, it's just a format, it's the second reading and final.
Formality.
Okay. All right,
Very
thank you
good.
very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Mark.
You bet.
Good luck.
Yeah, thanks.
Bob, do you have anything else?
That is all.
Okay, anybody? Gone, recess. And now we gotta open as,
Wait, can you wait a second? I'm sorry.
I'm ready to go. I am trying to roll right through it. Yeah, you was. Sure, you gotta change tapes.
One and reopen the meeting, I'm sorry.
You gotta change tapes, right?
Yeah, change tapes.
Pull the old 8-track out, Kathy, put the new one in.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're a little clear. I'm waiting for you to respond.
Well, now that we wore everybody out, they all ran out of here like they're assholes.
Well, you know what, good.
I ain't going to that meeting, it's 4 hours long.
Keep having long meetings.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're fine then. I just want to make sure.
I think we're gonna try to do this formal meeting first and then do all that signing.
Okay.
I'll sign stuff now, because
keep it
Get
moving.
it pretty soon.
For some reason, I thought that software was
Kevin, I
going to be
got it.
more. I don't know why, I thought it was like 300-some thousand. I don't know where I was. It's really not that much money.
The big one, you want.
I did get the new Pro, John. I got the big one.
Yeah, you like
Man,
that?
I love it, especially traveling. Oh.
Yeah, just, anytime you get there, it's the evening, you got a pretty glass on that.
Bam!
Yeah, it blows it right up.
Yep, it's like a TV. Okay, I was just wanting to make sure. Huh?
Okay, introduce them quick.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Second floor.
John, if I do these consent agendas, I just go down and read them and then just roll call for motion, okay? That's what I'm gonna do for all these, I'm gonna try to get them going real quick if I can.
Yeah.
You seem to run it better, so just push me along if I need pushing.
I knew the fire guys would want to talk, but I didn't know they were going to do that presentation.
Yeah, I was,
Get them in and out.
it's all right.
Let's get there.
I mean, really, we're gonna be done and out of here at 3:30, that's pretty damn good, really, when you think about it.
Oh.
Yeah.
One point
I'm gonna
consent
take
for
this
very
one out,
first
just no one sign that one.
Oh.
Three of you guys with the claims,
Right,
and then the second one is
all four, right. Did you go, John, did you go upstairs? That's pretty cool, isn't it? I think it is, but that new counter for people coming in and everything, that's gonna be nice.
Oh, I sign here, just here.
Hey, Bob, did you guys get that? Did you get that guy's building permit taken care of down there in Hebron? There was a guy that called me Friday night, left a voicemail, he was madder than a hornet.
Sorry, ready when you guys are.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
I call the Stormwater Management Board meeting to order. The first is a consent agenda for the Drainage Board, which is the three commissioners. On a consent agenda for claims, we have Crooked Creek North at $25,904.50. Pleasant Township / Martin Ditch, $15,425. Pope O'Connor Ditch, $725. Reeves North Ditch, $12,687.50. Reeves South Ditch, $16,457.50. Sandy Hook, $22,731.94. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The next consent agenda is for the Stormwater Management Board. That is the three commissioners plus the county surveyor. The first on the item is appeals. We will do this in order as well. Linda Stanton, U.S. Highway 49, Valparaiso, recommend denial, and that is a denial for the stormwater fee. Ravinia Homeowners Association of Ravinia Subdivision, Valparaiso, recommend denial. Michael Hodge, 528 Greening Road, Westville, recommend denial. Shirley Hines Land Trust, 15 parcels in various locations, recommend reducing from $120 to $180 per acre to a $1.40 per acre, which is basically a discount off the agricultural fee, basically, correct? And the Robert Fiskus, 636 East US 6, Westville, recommend denial. Donald Dixon, 1235 North, 575 East, Westville, recommend denial. Mark Dickinson, 494 and 502 Greening Road, Westville, recommend denial. Those are the appeals on consent. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We are now going to claims for the stormwater fee. We have 275 South at $710. We have Airport at $4,625. Carver Ditch, $1,450. Clark Ditch, $850. Cook Ditch, $5,800. Crooked Creek South, $3,625. Hotter Ditch, $725. Hutton Ditch, $5,075. Kazelke Ditch, $10,512.50. Stimson Drain, $1,305. Swanson Lamport, $725. Turtle Run, $7,549. Hotter Watershed, $9,100, and Parker Watershed, $3,820. Those are the claims for stormwater fee on a consent. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Claims, motion carries. Bob, why don't you take us through the drainage board regulated drain account for us? What we're requesting here with this is there's a general drainage improvement fund that has a pot of money in there that we can transfer to ditches that had an assessment on it, and in this particular case, we're requesting a transfer of GDIS funds to Carver Ditch. This is a recently completed project, and we're going to be getting invoiced here shortly on this. I'm just trying to relieve some of the funding off of the stormwater and put it back on the ditch funds so we can make it to our next draw with the stormwater.
The bottom line is trying to eliminate the general drainage improvement fund to get all the eggs in one basket.
Yep.
Deals.
And so you're okay with this, Kevin?
I think so.
Okay.
Motion to transfer.
Yeah, motion to transfer. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to transfer GDIF funds to Carver Ditch in the amount of $122,263.80. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Bob, why don't you give us the service agreement? Service agreement, just as it states on your attorney, McClure reviewed this and did not have any problems with it. He thought it was good. This is an emergency action plan. It's bringing the City of Valparaiso, the Lake of the Woods Club, and Porter County in, and it's dealing with the private dam with Sager's Lake. If that dam were to burst and everything, and it is considered a high-risk dam, it could cause significant structural and personal property damage with that. So we're doing an inundation study on it to see the limits of it, but we're also creating a contact, an emergency, like it says, an emergency action plan to deal with this and open up communications with it, emergency services and county and city personnel.
For the pleasure of the board, the contract amount for Lawson Fisher is $10,700. Porter County's portion is $3,566. The remaining two other portions are from the City of Valpo and the Lake of the Woods Club, so that's our 1/3. So our amount that we're approving is $3,566.
And this would be out of stormwater funds.
And this would be out of the stormwater funds.
Motion to approve the service agreement with Lawson Fisher Associates.
I'll second that. For discussion, this has been something we've discussed with Lake of the Woods for probably 4 or 5 years, but for lack of any funding source, we couldn't really participate. This has a tremendous impact on Horseberry Avenue, portions of the county and the city, so hopefully we can come to terms with a real potential disaster, but avoid any issues for those people down Spring.
So we have a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next meeting, September 20th, 2016. Bob, do you have something?
I do. I would like to introduce everybody officially now. Mike Novotny is our stormwater engineer and program director. Mike has sitting right here on this, and I just wanted to introduce him to the Stormwater Management Board officially.
Welcome aboard. Thank you.
Point of clarification from our last meeting, David James says so far we have paved 26.21 miles so far this year.
We are adjourned, or recessed. Thank you. Now we sign. Get the pen out.
That was their mystery.